Yo, yo. Hold on, let me get you in this chat real quick. Hold on.
Doing.
All right, what's up, brother?
How you been? How we been, man?
I've been pretty good, man. I've been yeah, a little frustrated here and there, but
Yeah, I feel that.
you know.
So, actually, I'll just address that question real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So, food prices, like everything, we have like these graphs, and I'll get you an example, but we have graphs that everything that happens in Prodigy, whether it's like a bullet being shot, something being purchased from a store, money being made, everything is logged to our it's called Elastic, right? It's this giant database essentially.
Yeah.
And what we can do is we can graph things based on that. So we use those graphs to see the just general server health from a like statistical number standpoint.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry, I'm getting over COVID still.
No, you're good.
It's been kind of rough. So everything in terms of food prices, item prices, how we balance things, how we balance payouts on jobs, it's all done from a number standpoint. And then obviously like we layer on a take of like, okay, what does it actually take from an in-game perspective of like how much time investment is there, how much buildup do you have to get there? Like obviously that's going to pay out higher from a number standpoint. So it's not like people are just coming in and like doing whatever they want in terms of pricing like that. It's actually like a group that sits down and we figure out like, okay, we need to tweak this and we tweak that. And then it's a living, breathing system, right? Like things change constantly. And that's the only way you can make things balanced and fair from a large gameplay perspective, right?
So let me ask you a question. Okay, so that's understandable, right? That makes sense, right? Because you'll have people like for instance the cashiers that get commission, and I'm hearing these guys had 20, 30K, 40K first couple of days. So I think the argument,
I just don't I don't know where you got that information, but it's just not true.
Well, Peanut worked at the fucking thing and he had 20K. He said he made 20K from the kitchen.
From the kitchen or the cash register?
The cash register, something like that.
I know early on, like it was definitely set up in a way where the cash register paid more. And that's just because they were like the way the mechanic worked is you would get the commission off the sale, right?
Yeah.
We have talked about ways to get around that by doing like a paycheck system or not paycheck, but pay slip system, right? Mm-hmm. Which I know other communities have done in the past and stuff like that, but like spreading that load. So
yeah. So and then it was something like I think the whole thing was also like the owners not being able to order food and they had to wait on Nash to do it and stuff like that. Remember also a lot of the stuff people don't know behind the scenes, right? So they're gonna handle the shit in RP. So it's gonna be like if Nash is the face, like that's what's gonna come with it, like the frustration, right?
Yeah, and I get that too. Like I don't have any problem with like Nash being the RP scapegoat, right? Like that's the whole reason the BBC exists. And I think this is something that like people need to understand is the BBC is a mechanic for the administrative and development team to introduce business role play into the city, right? It is nothing but a role play reason or an in character method for us to introduce things, right? To think that Nash as a player, so we're now talking about Gav, right? Like to think is playing that character for fun, like that's really not what that is. It's like his sole responsibility, and this comes back to the comment you made earlier about like, oh, he's got tickets and other things that he should do, is realistically that is his sole responsibility, right? Like he only focuses on the business side of things, and that's all he's meant to focus on because it's a lot to do, right?
Yeah.
He's also not the only one. I think a lot of people quickly and say like, oh, Nash has access to everything, Nash owns everything. That is just a mechanical way for him to be able to go in. I can go in right now on any character and give myself ownership of any business, right? Like that's just an administrative function.
Yeah, that's but that you're proving the point right there. That's what every, like, people know that, right? But then it's like the whole point was when it goes into role play where it's like, okay, for instance, you could come in and you can fix some shit or own some shit to fix some shit, right? But the consensus was, okay, well, Nash owns everything. So in RP, we're like, why does Nash own everything? We're not gonna be like, well, oh, see, he owns everything because he's the dev and he has to fix this and fix that. And then it's like, well, can't just the dev do that?
Well, I don't think that's completely genuine because like the fact that Nash quote unquote owns everything, there's like 100 something businesses. He has access to the ones that he was actively doing stuff for, right? I know the Chang records was a hot topic recently, right? Of like, oh, Nash has access to that, but not a different record company. And that's because that other record company was they like, it was a legacy system that was hard coded from the start. Like, think of it as like when we develop systems, we like start businesses in the code that like, these are the starters. They're like the template, right? And then we build off of those. So like Chang Records is a clone of that, and then it's renamed and from like a programmatic standpoint.
Yeah, I got.
So that's why like Chang Records didn't have things like the speakers and stuff like that yet, because that hadn't been set up, and that's like something that Nash still had to do. The other record companies were told not to do like busking, for example. Like there was a record company that could do busking.
Yeah, you couldn't do that. That I knew.
Right. They were told not to do it. They had access because they were like legacy set up from when the server was like when the feature was built, but not everyone had access yet. So that's why we're like, don't do busking. Like you're just abusing the fact that you have access when you shouldn't.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're not going to go in and like remove that access if we don't have to, because then it's just more work for us to come in and re-add it later, right?
Yeah. But also, right? So now, okay, so all the stuff you're saying, I like agree with you because it's like behind the scenes shit, right? But now in game, in character, if I'm like, hey, for instance, like let's just say Chang, I'm like, yo, Nash, what's going on with the speakers and shit for Chang? Oh yeah, I set that up tomorrow. It's gonna be done tomorrow. And then it's like a week goes by and it's not done. Then I'm like, well, what the fuck is he doing? That's just gonna be my natural reaction within game. I'm not gonna be like, well, technically I messaged the devs and the dev said this and the dev said this and blah blah blah. I'm just kind of like moving constantly, you know what I mean? So now it's like,
I feel that.
For instance, I needed stuff transferred over for the artists to put out their songs because it comes to uploading. I asked like 4 or 5 times, I didn't get that done. So now it's kind of staggers the role play because it's like, yo, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, I come in here and I'm in here for 10 hours a day. Shit gets boring, you know, if stuff's not moving, because we're kind of like just a fast-paced momentum. So anything type of RP we can like get, we're gonna use that. So that's why I even told. Obviously, I know Gav. Gav's a good guy. Like that's the homie. Like I've always fucked with Gav. But if Nash, it's different with like in character with Nash. It's like, well, Nash, how can you handle all this by yourself? Every time he comes in the server, he's gonna have 50 million people calling him to fix their business. And then they bring in Leah, and she doesn't have access to anything. So she says, right?
Yeah. So like, I want to separate. I don't want to go too deep into that because like I just don't agree that like from an access standpoint, that's just false. Like all the staff across the whole team has the same access and they can all do the same thing. It's more of a logistics of who, and this isn't me throwing anyone under the bus, to be very clear. That's not what I'm saying right now. What I'm saying is it's a knowledge bandwidth limitation, right? Like you don't want, as a staff member, you don't want to step on the toes of someone else that might already be doing that, or even worse, might have a plan to roll something out. And then like you go and roll it out for this person because they asked. like there's a communication that has to happen there, and that just hadn't really solidified very well yet because Leah's just new. Like Love in Your Style was new to the staff team. She hadn't like built that communication channel just yet.
Yeah.
So it's a little more difficult to say like, oh, I could do this for you, because she just doesn't know yet.
Yeah.
But that takes time. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses for anything, but like it's you're right, it is a limited team in a sense, but I don't know, I just don't it irks me when people say, oh, no one else has access. It's just not true.
Well, maybe she's saying that in roleplay, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
So,
well, again, everything that's said in City is like in character, and obviously their characters have the backstory, especially like Leah has. That's an existing character that came into the BBC like in character. So it's not the same as like someone like Nash or like a dev character that I would bring in, where like that the sole responsibility of the entire existence of that character is to do this, right?
yeah.
I think Nash even originally started as like an authentic character.
Yeah, he did.
A while. It's an old character, right? Like,
yeah. So from your perspective, obviously, obviously, you're a dev, you put in a lot of work. Like what is the frustrations? What kind of frustrations do you run into, or do you feel in certain situations, I guess?
I think the biggest thing is like I understand players get frustrated. I understand, like I used to play this game constantly. Like I hardly play anymore. You'd barely ever see me in the city, and that's because I just got so much other shit going on. But the biggest thing is, fuck, that's actually a hard question. I'd say like the peak for me personally is like when people start taking things from an in-character perspective and clearly bend it towards an OOC perspective, right? Where it's no longer talking about a character. It's more talking about like the whole staff team or dev or a specific admin or even a player, right? Like when things become, when you're just I'm not saying you, I'm saying in general.
You're just
like,
speaking in general. I got you.
When things are like, you take the character's name and you say, man, that Zolo guy, man, fuck that Zolo guy. Obviously it's a little different. It's easier to see because like your Twitch name's Zolo, right?
Yeah.
But like if like Payne, like Richard Payne, my cop character, if people really start honing in on Payne and start saying shit that just doesn't line up with that character, like, okay, you're clearly you're literally speaking about Richard Payne, but you're clearly have ulterior motives and you're clearly talking about the person behind that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, fuck that Zolo guy.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, right? For instance, it's like what I was telling the chat today. I was like, yeah, it can be Nash, but don't attack Gav because Gav is completely different, right? But yeah, it's also, it's like playing Apex. You're gonna get frustrated sometimes and like, yo, the fuck, this stupid
100%
dumb shit, you motherfuckers. But it's like, bro, we all get it, even us within the group. Like, if I get into a gunfight and Kay gets frustrated or Rami gets frustrated or someone gets frustrated and like, yo, it's Zo's fault, I'll get a bunch of motherfuckers and I'm live and I feel this live. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%.
So
and this isn't even a CG thing. This isn't a gang member thing. This is a player thing. Everyone does this.
Yeah.
Everyone does this, right? And you see it. It's more not prevalent, but more visible with like the bigger streamers because there's just more eyes. More people are there to see it happen, right? Like I guarantee you that the little streamer with 2 people, they're getting pissed off the same way. They're saying the same shit. Like it's fine. Like I've said shit in the past when I've been a player of like, man, fuck this guy. Like, why is he doing this?
Yeah.
Right. It's just, yeah, I get it.
And people also, there's gonna be the people that feel like this is real life and whatever. And then there's also gonna be like
the parasocial.
Yeah, the parasocials. And there's gonna be sometimes like you know, I'll talk in my chat and be like, bro, like, man, I got nothing to do. I'm frustrated. Why did this shit happen? Why did this end? What's going on with this? I remember I was an advocate of like the more shit, right? The strip club shit, because I was like, yo, me and Peanut wake up 10:30 every morning, and that was something to do. We had that shit, and then they got closed for like 4 weeks, and there was literally nothing to do. And it was like, I understand it, where it's like, okay, well, you know, we want to give other people this, but it's like, you did, and then this is what's happening. You know what I'm saying? And nothing's happening because you're in the middle of like content creators and people who are just like kind of playing it because they want to just chill with their homies, or, you know, what they would say, ERP and shit, you know?
Yeah.
And
the ERP shit's fucking wild.
yeah, and being on the ground, like for instance, you're deving all the time, right? You're doing shit. You're doing future shit, right? I'm in there and I'm seeing shit like real time. And it's like so it does get frustrating because it's like, yo, why can't this, like, even the food war shit, right? I feel like that was cool. And then K and them doing some crazy shit, could have went to like court. It just kind of seemed like it just got ripped away. Like, okay, everybody goes to sleep, we wake up fired.
Yeah, so that's an interesting topic actually. So I want to like dig into that a little bit, but
Yeah.
I've had a lot of time obviously to just go back and like review VODs and like really understand what happened. And I think the pinpointing the moment that I see as like the starter of all of this, right, was when people figured out through the business app on the tablet that managers could change the payout bank account to other accounts, which was a bug, right? Like that shouldn't have been a thing. Like it is a thing, but it shouldn't have been personal accounts. It's like business accounts. It's a way that we were working towards like getting multiple business accounts. So you could like, anyways, not to go super deep into it, but when that happened, like on one hand, I understand the role play that could have been, right? I totally get, and I personally probably would have leans towards, okay, like let's you know, go to court, we'll sue over the money, like whatever it is, like that's fine. But that's because I have that inside knowledge of how much money's in the account, and it was like not a lot, right? Like so there wasn't enough harm to be done there. Now on the flip side, and obviously this is all OOC knowledge, but I'm saying that for chat, is that when they had happened, so like I know Zakid got fired first. When he did that, it just so happened that one of the BBC members was literally in the business app looking at it and saw the paychecks or the change in pay go through, right? So they saw the increased pay and they're like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? And then one thing led to another. The pay got increased. The payout went through. They checked the bank records. The bank records showed that the payout was there. And then the first thing they do from an in-character completely, this wasn't an admin doing it. This was like, I mean, technically, yes, they're an admin, but they didn't come to staff and say, hey, we got to do this. It was like their character saw this happen with Zakid's actions, like just by chance. And they fired him because he was embezzling money. Like if you step back and look at it, like that's what he was doing. He was embezzling money out of a private citizen's bank account. And then the increase in the prices, that is like a server health balancing thing. So when they saw that, they're like, what the fuck? I'm just gonna fix it and drop it back down. So they dropped it back down. I don't even think they realized.
I think Zakid got fired after. That's what they're saying. Dark saying the timeline's wrong, because I remember Zakid was saying he got fired after, because that's what Leah was saying, the same thing, but he's like, he got fired way after that.
I think it was
Thanx, they can talk. Let them talk. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. My understanding, and again, like I'm speaking from my understanding, and like this isn't like a Prodigy official message. This is like from my point of view and everything I've been able to see, and like, I don't know if it was right when he did it. I do know that Leah let him go as soon as she saw the stuff, right? Like as soon as she saw, that was my understanding. Again, I could be I could totally be misreading that.
Yeah. Um, 2 hours. I think it was after the fact of him being paid. I know he got fired, right? He did get fired because I remember Nash coming in and saying you guys took the money, and then it was like, all right, well, whatever. And then,
well, there was three things that happened. There was Burger Shot took like the 10 grand or whatever, and I believe that came from the regular account. Then Up and Adam had switched to Nash's bank account to pay out. But Nash didn't have a lot of money in his account because the character like hadn't earned much money. So there was only so much money to pull out of it. I think they pulled most of it, but I believe there's like a $5,000 check and then another 5,000 to two different players. And then I think Vulture Law also pulled out money from Nash's account.
Yeah.
I don't know how much off the top of my head, but
yeah, 5,000 went to me. I know that for a fact.
yeah.
Yeah.
So on one hand, basically to get back to what I was saying, on one hand, like personally, I would have loved the court RP behind that because like I had in 1.0, I had a lawyer that was like the whole thing. The only thing I didn't do anything other than law. Like, and I just would fight cases in court all day because I'm a nerd. I don't know. I like doing that. I like arguing.
Yeah.
But the server health side is paychecks were set to like 50 grand an hour. And I think there was something about 100 grand an hour by someone at some point. I don't know if that's true. I do know that I did see personally the 50,000 an hour payout. And from a server health perspective, if that had happened, that would have introduced money into the economy that shouldn't have been there. And at this point in time, there's like two people with 50 grand or more, right? Like that's a lot of money. That's economy shifting money. I think the top, I pulled it the other day, but the top,
I think only 15. I think only got 5, and I don't think much money really came out.
Right, and that's because I believe a dev saw the change because we get alerted to changes like that. Yeah. They saw the change and reverted it as soon as they could. But obviously, it takes time to like turn your game on and like actually get in.
Yeah.
And then there's probably a delay between them seeing the alert and actually getting up to go react to it.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, the 100K never got paid out. But no,
I know the 100K didn't get paid out. There also just wasn't 100K in the accounts that they were pulling from. Like,
yeah, exactly.
There was like 12 grand in that account. If they had left it on the business account, they would have pulled more money, right? Because there's more money in that account. Not to say they did it wrong, but
they did it wrong. They fucking did it wrong.
So like, what would have been? I saw this suggested by, I think it was the mayor suggested this. If he was in that K's position in that point, he would have gone to cash only payments and then stolen the money that way. And like, I think that would have been allowed in our, like, from a development standpoint, no one would have like stopped that at all, ever.
Yeah. Because
it's not introducing new money into the economy. It's essentially, how do I explain this? It's just shifting finances, right? And like at that point, it's a way easier to just go to court and fight over it, whatever. So the business accounts were started with essentially fresh net new money because they have to have money to buy stock and do the initial paychecks and whatnot. So when you pull out of that, you're taking net new money and introducing it into the economy.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. That's true. They purposely chose Nash's account. I think I don't even think it's like the whole introducing new money. Yeah, of course, because like that fucks up the economy. But from a dev admin side, that shit can be reverted, right? I don't even think it was about the money. It was about like people wanted to order food, and then he was controlling all. He wasn't letting like he wasn't. It was kind of like micromanaging. Like he wasn't letting like the shit just flow. It was just like, and I don't know. Again, we don't know if he's told to do this, right? So it's not to say like when I'm talking about Nash, I'm talking about Nash. I'm not talking about Gav. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
From that perspective, it was like he was pretty much like micromanaging everything. It's like, bro, we can't even order food without this guy being around. And it's like, yo, you see Nash max 2 hours and then he's gone. It just becomes this, basically he becomes daddy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like from, you know, content creators perspective, it's like, bro, we got shit to do. So now it becomes, all right, we're going to rebel. And then all this shit happens. And then I guess Nash came in, he was pissed off, so we're like, yo, we're gonna go fucking on strike. We go on strike, and then it was just like a food stand pops out of nowhere, and it's like, this is the dumbest shit ever. You know what I'm saying? Because now it becomes, not to say he did it.
So the food stand was actually me. Like that was straight up me. And the reason I did it was because there's 275 players on the server, and there's 2 methods to get food. One is 24/7s and one is the restaurants. If both restaurants want to RP like a strike and shut down, I think that's fine. But we have to give, we can't hold 275 players hostage to a single RP scenario. You know what I mean? Like from that standpoint, I want to like go back and look at like what you said earlier about like there's the average, you know, chill player that's there to hang out with their friends and like they've got their own RP story arcs going like elsewhere in the community, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard to say like, okay, this one group which controls both of the food businesses is going to shut down all access to food and literally just let people die. And I'm not saying that was ultimately what your goal was, but what in reality's sake, that's what was happening is players were dying in game because they couldn't eat, so they were starving to death. So the soup kitchen was a way to essentially, and I literally told the admins, I was like, I don't want any admins here. Don't show up. Like, don't come. Even if you have like an IC character that like has a story and everything, like don't come because this isn't an admin thing. I gave it to the city council to actually run and hand out food, and it was a way to build their community's trust and whatnot. So players that weren't involved in that storyline could still get food and not starve to death, and then they could continue their storylines, right? It's hard to, again, it's hard to hold 275 players hostage behind a mechanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the thought process from a administrative development level of like why we're doing this. I get that it kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in your plans, but at the end of the day, right? Like 275 people, that's a lot of people.
So
a lot of storylines.
Yeah. Okay. So now I would say what you're saying, I could say makes sense, right? Because you're like, oh, well, looking at it from a 200 players perspective or 270 player aspect, there's a lot of, yo, these motherfuckers got to eat, man. Like this can't happen. Like, so like if I'm looking at it from that perspective, I agree with you, right? But then that's when it becomes kind of OOC, right? Because in a sense, whose fault would that be when, for instance, Nash walks out and goes, fuck it, go on strike, fuck you guys. Right? When he could have just basically negotiated, or maybe, you know, if he didn't negotiate, he could say, let me think about it, give me a couple, you know, and then maybe he's like, yeah, they're going to go on a strike, so let's set up like a state of emergency, and then, you know, we can role play it out.
I don't think so. The mayor was unavailable. The mayor, like the person that plays the mayor was literally at work. So like they're not full-time streamer or anything. They weren't available. The assistant mayor or whatever you want to call them was not available.
What's up, Nova?
I had a really hard time getting in touch with anyone. I got 3 out of the 4 council members, I believe. And the general basis behind the RP story was that the city hall has reserves, like famine reserves in the basement. And the idea was they're handing out literally like tomato soup, which is like wartime like the cheapest, like shitty food you could possibly give out, and it was just a way, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I get no, bro. I'm not even getting at you at that, because I understand why you did what you did, but this is kind of goes to my point where, it's like the quick fix instead of like the whole story line, right? Like, I'm not saying you don't have time to be like following the story and seeing it. You're just like, yo, bro, these two guys they're going on strike, and there's no food for these players. This is kind of fucked, right? But also, I think that should have been put on Nash's character, because the whole conversation when
yeah, that's sorry, I missed that part of your question, but I want to address that real quick, not to interrupt, but
go ahead.
Nash, the player Gav, was literally not home. Like, he wasn't available. I couldn't have him come in and do things either.
He was there. He was there.
No, not at the time of the soup kitchen.
So he came in and left?
So yeah, he was in for a while. I believe he left. He had to go I think he was running errands or something. I know he went and got food. I know exactly the type of food he got, because he came back and was eating it while I was doing the soup kitchen. And I'm not going to force someone to not eat their food. Like, dude, people get breaks, man.
No, I get it. I get it.
So, like, I get what you're saying. I see what you're saying. And in hindsight, like, there's a million ways it could have been done. It was more a matter of how do we not completely derail their storyline, but also allow other people to continue their storylines that don't want to be, because at the end of the day, RP is about wanting to be involved. If people don't want to be involved, they shouldn't be forced. Especially in masses, right?
Okay. That I will disagree with you, right? Here why, okay? Because I listen, I'm not disagreeing with you in a sense of where I'm like, yo, you're wrong, right? Because you could be right about a situation from the aspect, right? Like, it's like kind of like, bro, I don't want people to feel a certain way, or this or this and this. But there's also actions, there's consequences to actions, right? So now, for instance, if there's two food chains in the city, right, ran pretty much by one guy, right? Let's just keep it honest. Just ran by one guy, Nash, the overseer, the overlooker. He can hire, he can fire, he can set this, he can set this and set this, right? If Nash wants something a certain way, and because it's in RP, the RP doesn't fit the certain way he wants it, or the people rebel, let's just take CG out of the equation. What if it was just different staff that was like, we don't like what you're doing over here, and then they called Burger Shot saying the same way, fuck it, we're going on strike. Everybody on strikes, there's signs. Now, Nash is like, man, I don't give a fuck y'all, right? But why did Nash say fuck y'all? Like, did he say it in a sense of like, damn, I'm a business owner, this is gonna make me look bad? I'm just talking all RP perspective, so chat, don't even think it's OOC. Or did he just be like, man, I'm coming across as the guy with an ego, and yo, I'm tired of you guys, fuck y'all, right? So now you've got you coming in and you're like, fuck, man, I feel sorry for these people. Let me just put a soup stand, but let me, put a soup. So it's just rations. It's not a big thing. Like, you're just doing a minor thing. But I think because I don't want this whole city dying, but I think if that would have happened, Nash wouldn't have said fuck y'all, and some type of negotiation would have happened, or something extremist where now there's a fucking state of emergency. All these people are dying. Why are all these people dying? Or not dying? Well, why these people are saying, why can't we get food? What's going to the bottom of this? Oh, Nash. Oh, it's Nash. Or it's this. Or maybe they revolt against CG and be like, fuck these guys. How dare they close this shit? And now it's like the whole city against us. There could have been so many different storylines that come from it. But then it kind of just like, okay, cool. That happens. We move on from that.
Right. But like I see what you're saying, and those are alternative storylines, but to say that there wasn't a storyline and that there wasn't role play around the soup kitchen and like what became from it is kind of disingenuous.
No. I didn't say there was not. I never said there wasn't no storyline.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you said that. I'm partially reading chat as well, which I probably shouldn't be doing. But I'm also like hearing what you're saying at the same time. And I think overall, just addressing both at the same time is to say that there was no RPs is just false, right? Like, was it the RP that the viewers wanted, or the streamers wanted, or like the players doing the strike wanted? Probably not exactly. And that's what you got out of it is they attacked the stand. So like originally when I was setting up the stand, the admins wanted to do like mayoral security with admins and guns, and I'm like, no, like that's ridiculous. Like that seems like over the top for what is just a soup ration stand, right? Like if they're gonna attack it and blow it up or come picket it or protest against the soup stand, like that's fine. Like that's,
I think we ended up doing that.
and it did happen, and like I think that's great because that is RP. That was a story that developed, and then it turned into the soup stand eventually shut down because they kept getting attacked.
Yeah,
and the council abandoned it, which is fine. Like I'm not that's fine. And then as a result, the outcome was that Bobby, who is on the council, went and funded rations from Up and Atom. And that is a RP outcome that came from that soup stand story that was started. And
I disagree because I feel like that could have been an outcome that would have happened with the strike.
It could have happened many different ways. I think this was just one avenue to get there.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's essentially the end goal from a OOC perspective was that players have access to food.
Yeah.
So the soup kitchen was the start of that, and it was meant to be a way that it's shitty food. They could, like, citizens could still get mad at the businesses because they're striking and they can't get good food. This is shitty food. I created a whole new item. Soup wasn't a thing. Like, we created a whole new fucking food item on the fly to fit this storyline. And to try and like really push this is shitty, crappy food. You should be upset, right? But you're also not dying. So yeah, I don't know.
The soup didn't really do much.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it was like a shitty burger is what it was based off of.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I get the perspective from an OOC standpoint of view, and but I also think like it kind of makes it weird when it just some shit gets spawned in, and then you're like, huh? I thought we were supposed to do this strike, and then it kind of took away from that strike.
Yeah,
that's my perspective.
I feel that.
And look what Nova said. Grinders don't care what they eat, so it's kind of like they're just, hey man, give me my next food so I can go back. I could go back up north.
I completely agree, and I think the war on grinders is an ongoing thing, right? Like, devs hate grinders just as much as you guys because they make it where we have to like do these very minute tweaks to the economy in order to prevent, like, they find the smallest little advantage and then they grind that so hard that it destroys the economy at large, right? So we don't like grinders just as much as you guys. And the soup kitchen was handing out, I told the council, like, you guys should really ration this in a sense of like each person gets 3 to 5 soup and coffee, and like that's it. That's all they get. And that should be enough to hold them over until whatever this is develops to a different perspective of them having access to food. And if it doesn't,
give me a sec, Dev. Chat, you got to be respectful. At the end of the day, we're having a conversation. You guys bicker and cry about shit, and now you guys got a transparent conversation with a dev behind the server. We can have a conversation. That's what grown people do. We don't have to be like, oh my gosh, I don't agree with you, I'm upset at you. Like, no, you can have a decent conversation and be accountable on both sides. It's just like, if you don't like it, you guys you're welcome to leave, man. I don't want to see this shit. But yeah, go ahead. What you saying now?
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, I actually saw a message in chat, and I'm gonna abide by it, and hopefully Ravage doesn't get upset with me. He's probably gonna get mad at me for this conversation, mostly because I'm probably shouldn't be leaking half the information, but mostly I saw a message about like show us the richest players in the server. I think you'd be surprised. I think the richest players, the top 10, I think it was like 6 of them were actually CG. And again, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. CG plays the server for a living, like they're streamers. They're on the server.
I gotta add Shotz. Shotz wants to jump in. Hold
Oh
on.
hell yeah!
Let me,
Get in here, Shotz.
Oh, I gotta add you as a
Yeah,
friend
here.
first.
I added you. How were we not friends already?
I know. I don't. I was confused. I think I added you as a friend at the same time you added me as a friend. Oh, there we go.
Oh, what's good?
Yo,
Oh my god, Shots.
Oh my god. How's Lorenzo, man?
what happened?
I said, how's Lorenzo?
He's chilling, man. He's fucking.
Yeah?
He's a maniac.
Did he shit on you again yet?
Yeah, twice already. But that's
It's
beside
a
the
daily,
point.
daily
It's the
occurrence.
normal occurrence with him.
Yeah. So,
So what are you guys talking about? You talking about everything with the server and shit?
We're just chit-chatting, kind of an informal conversation.
I was just reviewing some clips. We were just having a conversation with chat, and then you know.
Here's my honest take on things. What I think we should be doing. There is a council now for a reason. I was listening in a little towards the end when you were talking about like, you know, trying to like control the economy and making sure it doesn't go to shit and all this stuff. In my honest opinion, the way I think shit should be ran, we never had a council, we never had a mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we do, they should be doing their fucking job. So in the sense of, I think the way it should operate is that BBC literally, the way they operate is that they overview business proposals, they accept or deny, then get them set up.
Was Suarez
and
number
that's
one,
it.
chat?
Me
So
personally,
I think that's what you're gonna start seeing, right?
Well,
like I
and
think
then-
that's
and
already
then-
in motion.
yeah, and then with the council, you have 2 to 3 people on the council that they oversee these businesses, okay? And I think that's the way it should be operated. But at the end of the day, if a business is given to somebody or told to be ran by somebody, the micromanaging needs to stop because it literally kills RP, especially when you're told to run something and you wake up and the next day you have people as a co-manager that you have no clue who the fuck they are. You're lowering prices where prices should be higher in restaurants now because people are making more money now. Why in the world are we dropping prices on food where people are making more money is beyond fucking me.
So I think
I
think
don't
he
get it.
explained that before. If you want to just go over that.
Yeah, I think like I agree with you. Like ultimately the idea is that the player base has control and we don't have to do these things. What you don't see is the actual analytical data behind making the changes we've made early on in the wipe, right? So no changes are made just to like say, fuck these guys, like they want to make more money, now fuck them. Like that's not why the changes are made. They're made because there's like we literally have a graph that shows player income coming in and player income going out, and I can see how much money people are spending on food, how much money people are earning comparatively to that food, and etc. So like without rehashing that whole conversation, the TLDR there is just these are analytical high level moves that we're making and tweaks we're making. Ultimately the idea is to get it to a point where we don't have to do that anymore, right? Because the economy balances itself.
I just truly feel that if you're telling somebody to run a business, I think they should be able to run it as see fit. I think where you guys could step in the sense is in the background of things. Hey, send an email, be like, listen, we reviewed some data, we looked at a couple of things. Let everything happen in RP. You know what I'm trying to say, Byte? Because
I agree, yeah.
It feels very odd when somebody is told to run a business, they're running the business as do fit, and then they come in the next day, prices are changed, people are hired, people are fired. Like, let the business people run the businesses as they want. And if there's anything that has to get changed, it should be done on the back end with sending like a Discord DM to that person that runs the shop. Hey, listen, we need to do this. Let's do this for this RP reason, but this is the reason why we have to do it. It needs to be done
Yeah.
an RP set and not just doing it on your own, and it just feels fucking weird as hell. Like, cause like, how do you RP that, right?
Yeah.
You're literally RPing a admin changing stuff, and you have no clue on it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm trying to say?
you get stuck, and then you like. I get what you're saying about the whole money thing, but I feel like role players are not grinders. So it's like, when it comes to role play, it just puts everybody in an awkward position, and then they have to adjust their role play based on, for instance, like Nash changing the prices, but he's told to change the prices, and then Nash comes in with a fuck you attitude, so then it becomes fuck you, and then it becomes, because even a strike, right? Kay was just like, yo, we want everybody to have the equal pay for the back and the front. Nash could have just been like, yo, to be fair, let me talk about it with the business crew, blah blah blah, I'll get back to you. But he was just like, nah, fuck you, and then Kay was like, all right, we're going on strike. So like, you know what I'm saying? And now like you said, you have Nash there role playing as this admin to control the business. That's what he's there for. But then so his character decisions have to be a little bit wiser based on the responsibility he has, if that makes sense.
I think at the end of the day, I think there's a disconnect.
Am I making sense?
Where people think that players own businesses, and traditionally and like kind of historically, 1.0 and 2.0 and 2.5 up until now, players don't actually own the businesses. They manage the businesses, and then like technically the BBC owns the business. And the reason we have it that way,
and I'll be honest, Bite, that's where it's all wrong. I'm going to be very upfront about that.
And I don't disagree with you, and I'm getting to that point, but I'm just kind of laying down some history is the BBC has owned the businesses in order to come in and remove players that stop playing, players that are like just destroying the business to a point. And I think what changed is with 2.5 and early wipe is you're starting to see like very active players in these positions.
He already said that your name doesn't have to be on it. He literally said that,
and they don't fit the mold.
Because he said he has access to all of that stuff, and he doesn't have to do that.
Where they're only like on for 2 to 3 hours a day, right? And then the rest of the time,
that's what needs to be done on the back end of things. That should not have to be controlled,
right?
While you're on the server playing, you know, it's just when shit happens like that, brother, it's weird as fuck. I'm not gonna lie.
And I hear you 100%. And what I think you're starting to see, and I believe this kind of happened last night as well, in character, is you're starting to see a shift where there's players are going to own these businesses, and they like it's just going to be theirs. And if they drive it into the ground, they drive it into the ground. If they make a ton of money, like they make a ton of money. But it has to be done strategically in a way where not one player can own everything, or one group can own everything. Because if one group owns everything, it's a monopoly in the market, and then they can just do whatever they want, right? They could raise prices, and then now you're affecting the entire economy, et cetera, et cetera. So there has to be a kind of I'll call it a handover phase of where we're shifting away from this old BBC mentality and into this new player ownership model. That is what's being worked, and it just takes a little bit of time. It's not going to happen instantly because we have to start up.
I know a lot of this shit happened in the past. The problem is with trusting people, right?
Oh, 100%.
And it's a big risk to take, right? But at the end of the day, Bite, you know as well as me, you got to just let it go, let it roll for the RP. And if they fuck up, you just rip it from them. It's that simple. But it's more about, I think we need to just let RP rolling out the way it should be rolled out, instead of just fucking micromanaging everything on these people. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think that is one of the biggest issues I've noticed, how like the micromanaging is way too much. They never did that when I had Al Dentes, because like we knew what the fuck we were doing. I had people that were, you know, they were good. They knew what they were doing. Like really nobody had to step in and do anything.
But, let's be honest too, Shotz, like not every role player or role play needs to be micromanaged, right? Like a guy like Kay and stuff. Newer people where you guys see like, okay, you have potential, I see what you do. Let's give this guy a shot. Maybe you micromanage him for the first couple of months or whatever and see that.
But the thing is, like, you gotta understand, like, the situation of the whole Wu Chang and Venus thing, right? Venus was established. No BBC member was on there. There was no admin on the company itself. And you got to understand from K's perspective is like, why am I being micromanaged and being looked on like as something bad because like I have these people always in on the app.
Well, Bryce said that Nash had to do something. That's why he was on that.
Right. So yeah, but this is when I had Al Dente's, Nash and Smacks stood on the app for the reasons of they had to fix things. They had to do the POS system. They would, at the time, they were the only ones that were able to do it. But once everything got established with Al Dente's, they removed themselves from it, right? So I understand there's a reason for them to be on it, but I feel like it shouldn't have to be this way if we just do everything on the back end of things and let just players run their businesses as seen
or
fit.
if they're on it, and here's my opinion, if they're on something, then they shouldn't have a character in game, because now, for instance, if K don't like Nash and Nash don't like K, how is that even going to work in game? Because they are RPing characters.
I hear you. I want to like just take a step back and like look at the history of like where the BBC came from, right? Even back in 2.0, like the start of 2.0, there was businesses like the strip clubs and everything where there was like demand for having this BBC type system come in and fix things when things hit the wall. Not necessarily mechanically, but like businesses were failing, whatever it might be. There was like, hey, we need Nash involved, right? And like Nash is the easy scapegoat because he's kind of the face of it. But again, there's more than just Nash here. Like you guys just don't see it. The BBC is just an in character way to make it not weird. Whereas if we got rid of the BBC, which I think is probably going to happen, again, I'm not speaking for Prodigy on that. I'm speaking for myself.
I don't think the BBC should be removed. I think what they should be doing is as the Better Business Commission by doing what they're supposed to do. I feel like they should review applications for businesses, either accept or deny them, set them up where they have to be set up, and that's it. And that's all that should be done.
And if they're not working, get rid of them.
The ones that are overseeing, exactly. Yeah. And the council should be the ones overseeing these businesses with audits. Everything that the BBC was doing is the reason why we have the council now, and that's why we should have the council be doing it. It's that simple. It's
100%. But how old's the council?
What happened?
How old's the council? How long has the council been around? Exactly.
It just came out.
Exactly. Right. So like it's hard to say like, oh, well, the council should be doing it when the council's brand new. Like it just started.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily all I'm saying is it's not fair to say like, oh, the BBC, down with the BBC because they're holding all the power. Well, like the council's just getting started. The mayor's office is just getting started. It's hard to transfer that responsibility.
Yeah.
And I want to be upfront and say, like, I don't know if that was in the works before all this anyways.
Yeah.
I don't have that insight. What I am saying is I do agree with you guys. I do think players should have more control. And ultimately, from a development standpoint and from a server health standpoint, like that is the direction we were going anyways. It's just a matter of the server being so early into a wipe. There's so much fine tuning. The biggest thing that I've seen, like that's made me personally like hesitant to hand over complete control is people are still in the mindset of the old economy and they still think, oh, I should be making $2,000 an hour. I should be making $5,000 an hour. Like, I don't understand that people are grinding to get back to that when that's just not the reality anymore. The reality is we've reworked the entire economy. We've spent hours and hours. Smaxy has spent so much time sitting down and he hates it, as do the rest of us. But like we've just fine-tuned every single dollar and we've been trying to meticulously fine-tune it because we want it to be lower income, lower expenses, lower cost across the board, right? And it seems silly, but it allows for more opportunity and more growth in the future that we necessarily, if you're making 10 grand an hour, like what's another 5 grand to you at that point? No, it's nothing, right? Like if you're making a few $100s an hour, it's a lot easier for us to expand on that later on.
I get all of that. Like that is like that. That makes 100%. But what I'm trying to say is like when y'all see role play that's happening, it's just like that's where it gets a little frustrating because it's like, isn't that what we all consecutively wanted? Just the little bit of role play that's
100%.
happening. Even for instance, like even like the Wu-Chang shit, we couldn't even upload songs, and Nash was like, "Oh, we can. He's gonna do this," and it's like, Ollie G, which is Nova, she made a Up and Adam song, and it's like, yo, from a musician standpoint, yo, you gotta pay for producers, you gotta pay for this, and people are bringing this into the city to create something, and then they just wake up one day, they're fired from here, they've got no Wu-Chang to upload a song, they've got nothing, and it's like, well, from those people who are role players and don't care about money, it's demoralizing because it's like, shit, man, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, these people spending 10 hours in the city. I made this song. It took me, you know what I'm saying, maybe 10 hours to make this song. I paid $500 for this producer. I made this person did this. I got this engineer over here. And now a motherfucker just wakes up and then it looks like he's just in his feelings because there was zero role play to that. Why did everybody on the CG roster or was affiliated with CG get fired? Nash is nowhere to show up.
I'll address that. I don't know why that happened. I do know, I don't believe, and I'll eat my words on this, but I don't believe the BBC was the one that fired everyone. My understanding was new managers were put in place, whether temporarily or not, I don't know. But they were put in place overnight just to get the businesses back open.
And just knew in game who everybody was affiliated with CG, just knew everybody who everybody works with and just fired them. That's even worse.
Again, there's some weird sus shit going on there, but like that's being looked into, right? Like, needless to say, I think that's besides the point, right? Like, I think that the ultimate goal.
I seen a clip that AJ told K in character that he met with AJ Nash and he said, "Did you partake in the strike stuff?" And I think that AJ said that Nash was the one firing people.
I mean, that's an assumption because
that was
AJ,
a clip. That was a clip. We seen it. Nash was like,
yeah.
I saw that clip as well, and that was a complete assumption because right after that clip, you if you get the full context, you see AJ even says, "Oh no, he didn't fire me," even though AJ admitted to Nash that he was involved in the strike, right? Okay. So like it's a little clickbaity is what I'll call it, right?
But
like,
the thing,
there's context missing there.
But
AJ wasn't fired; he's still hired.
Still down, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that we're doing an update.
No, AJ said he wasn't fired when he talked to K in character, but when Nash comes and asks him, "Was you part of it?" He says no. He says, "Yeah, kind of, whatever." He didn't get fired, but then all of us woke up and got fired. So there was what in my perspective, just my character. Well, who did this? Like just some random guy Nash hired? How would he know to do that?
Yeah, and I hear you. I want to step away from this because I don't have the context
you don't
there,
have the context,
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak on that because like I just don't. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand you don't have the context. It's just
speculation
it's me speaking. So there's context to everything. But yeah, go ahead, keep going.
But I think ultimately the play
Shout out
here
Bright
is
come in and have his conversation. It was good.
Middle to long term is to shift more ownership into the business perspective of the players, right? Okay. Where they have more control to bring the council in, which is already being done, right? Like that happened last night and was like in character was pushed through. I believe I heard that the mayor had decided on who was going to receive the two businesses to start with. And I think Kay just had happened to get off right before he made that decision. And, you know, like you guys have schedules and I would never expect you guys to divert your schedule just to do some RP shit, right? Like you wouldn't get back in the city. Like that's weird. So end of the day, like I think that's the route that things are headed, and I think it's a healthy route. I think it's good. Yeah.
I personally think, I'm going to be honest with you, like I think we need to move past all the bullshit that happened and get back to what we
100%
do best and just role play. And I think it was like all nonsense, but like the whole thing with the council making the decision, like I'm just going to say this, I'll be real, like Zakid's character put a shit ton of work into Burger Shot. And
I don't disagree.
And the fact that he's just going to be, oh, you could be the manager of an app. I personally think what should be done, and this is just my honest opinion. Well, this is on number 1K to make a decision in that. But right now you have a monopoly with the strip club, right? It's only Bahama Mamas that's open. You could, if K would want to be up to it, you should give burger shot to fucking Zakid, up and at him to that girl, Kylie, whatever her name is. Fucking let K run more club if he wants to run more club.
Bring back more.
So they don't have to add another. What you call it in the city? A restaurant in the city.
Yeah, because right now you're right. Bahama Mamas has a monopoly, and honestly, bro, like I don't know if you watch, but like it's
Thanks,
just
sir.
RP for us, man. Like these little items, it's not like for us to just be rich. It's just fucking extra RP. Like we don't give a fuck about money. We've never cared about that.
Nobody, to also be clear, nobody is insanely rich. I think the highest bank account I saw was 70 grand. And that 70 grand is a shared bank account between a bunch of players. It's like a savings account that they opened. Beyond that, like the top 150 players are above 10 grand. Everyone, there's only 150 players with 10 grand or more is what I'm trying to say.
Wait, so
right?
I got 30 grand. That means I'm rich?
Yeah, you're in the top like 1%. Probably the top
Chang
1%
is
of
K's,
the 1%.
I don't
Actually, I can tell you there's
I don't want to
like
personally own shit. I just
3,000
want to run shit. Sorry.
You're in the 0.03% or something like that.
No, fuck
What?
you guys. I haven't been grinding. I've been working at the mechanic shop, assholes.
He been hustling. He been hustling.
Fucking grinders, man. I think at the end of the day, I think we're moving in the right direction. I'd love if things just kind of went back to normal. In terms of your idea for the 2 strip clubs, I think it's a great idea. However, like we've given that power to the mayor's office and the council, and I'm not going to override what they decide.
Okay, good. So the power is in their hands now. That's what I like to see. So everything is.
No.
handled.
Oh, I was gonna say something crazy. Let me not say it.
Fine. Yeah, so there's no need. Relax.
So I think ultimately, I think that is something that you could try and do through in-character methods, like go talk to them and propose that idea, etc. In terms of opening the new businesses, I don't know if that's fleshed out yet. So I know the More Club isn't open yet. I would say like as soon as we get that fleshed out, and I don't. Again, I can't speak on exactly what that process will be. I just don't know the details. But assuming, and I think there's a good assumption to have, is that the council and the mayor's office will have input into who gets the business, because they're going to kind of fill in that role of what the BBC was doing with vetting people. So I would assume that it's safe to say that that could be done.
Yeah, hold on now.
What are you hold on and about, huh, bitch?
No. I was talking to chat. Yeah, that'd be cool, bro. And Bryce, I appreciate you even having this conversation with us, and just for some transparency, because again, like what Shotz was saying, a lot of shit sometimes just doesn't make sense in character, and it's like it might make sense from an OO's perspective, from like a dev admin's point of view, but like for us, it's like what the hell. And sometimes y'all making decisions based off of like a 30-minute shit, or and we're in the server 10 hours a day, so this could be affecting like a lot of shit and pushing us in a different route. But again, I appreciate you even coming in and having this conversation. It was enlightening,
Yeah, Bite's the homie. I appreciate Bite. I appreciate Smacks. You motherfuckers hold it down. So
Yeah, man. I think there's a lot of
I didn't say
good
Bryce.
things coming, and I think there's
I
a
didn't
lot
say
to be
Bryce.
excited about. Ultimately,
yep. That's too easy. Is the server back up, Bite?
let me check.
No, it's not.
Make sure you grab the latest. I think the IP changed the main one.
Oh God, I gotta go on the website now, bro.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm on a website.
Looks like it's still restarting. Let me double check. I think they're moving some firewall rules to the new IP, and then we'll be good. So any minute now.
No, but like, yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely a conversation that was needed, and
Yeah, communication.
We need to just get back to the you know, the shit that we know, man. Just have fun.
So all we want is to have fun, man. And that's what we do. I should start doing podcasts with the devs though, low key once a week. Just have them on the fucking.
Chat, by the way, if you didn't know, Bite's the one that was trying to kill me on his trucker character.
Yeah, I gotta get back on now that I'm feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
Dude, when that was happening, dude, I was like coughing every other fucking word. It was so bad.
I thought it was fucking hilarious. All right. Well, I guess I'll see you in game, and appreciate the time, Bite.
Yeah, man. I'll see you guys around.
Yeah, Bite.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you, gang. Oh man, that was cool, chat. That was cool. What y'all think overall? I feel like he answered every question and every concern to his best ability, to the knowledge he had. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like we couldn't really go into other stuff because he just didn't know, right? You know, chat, appreciate him coming through and just having that conversation. That's the W. You know, that also that conversation just you know, made me feel better just from a role player standpoint, and just I just feel less frustrated. So conversations help.